the man who was crazy about the Beatles.
John was a huge fan of the Beatles. He loved their music so much that he only answered people by reciting lines from the lyrics of their songs. He didn't care about anything else in the world, except for the Beatles and anything related to them. He had posters of them on his walls, books about them on his shelves, and records of them on his turntable. He spent his days listening to the Beatles and singing along. He knew all their lyrics by heart. But not everyone shared his passion for the Beatles. In fact, most people found him annoying and weird. They didn't like to talk to him very much because he only talked about the Beatles and never listened to what they had to say. He would always interrupt them with a quote from a Beatles song that he thought was relevant, but usually wasn't. For example, when his boss asked him why he was late for work, he would say, "I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be." When his neighbor complained about the noise he was making, he would say, "Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be." When his girlfriend broke up with him, he would say, "Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away, now it looks as though they are here to stay." Because of his obsession with the Beatles, he lived alone in a small apartment. His family had given up on him long ago, and his friends had drifted away. He had no one to talk to, except for his imaginary friends, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. He would pretend that they were with him, and have conversations with them using their song lyrics. He would ask them for advice, tell them his problems, and thank them for their music. He felt that they understood him better than anyone else, and that they were the only ones who cared about him. One day, as John was lost in the familiar tunes of "Hey Jude," and singing along in his solitude, he received a letter. It was an invitation to a Beatles tribute concert happening in the city. For a moment, a glimmer of excitement flickered in his eyes. Finally, an event that celebrated the essence of his existence. As he entered the venue, the sea of Beatles enthusiasts stirred a longing within him. Surrounded by people who shared his passion, he felt a sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. The opening chords of "A Hard Day's Night" echoed through the hall, and John found himself harmonizing with the crowd. Yet, as the night progressed, an undeniable truth began to unfold. His connection with the Beatles, once a source of solace, now highlighted the void in his life. The songs that had been his companions seemed to mock his isolation. While others reveled in the friendship, John realized he was still alone in a crowd. The concert ended, and the attendees dispersed, leaving John to confront the stark reality awaiting him at home. The posters on his walls and the records on his shelves seemed to echo with a melancholic tune. As he looked around, he couldn't escape the feeling that his world had become a Beatles song, beautifully melodic but tinged with a profound sense of loneliness. Returning to his apartment, John faced the emptiness with a bittersweet realization. His passion for the Beatles had isolated him, creating a bubble where only the echoes of their melodies resonated. His imaginary conversations with John, Paul, George, and Ringo felt more distant than ever. In the quiet of his room, he whispered to his imaginary friends, "All the lonely people, where do they all come from?" It was a question that lingered in the air, unanswered, as he continued to navigate the verses of his life, hoping for a chorus that would bring harmony to his solitary existence. Weeks passed by, and John's routine remained a steady stream of Beatles melodies. The tribute concert had offered a fleeting taste of connection, but the deep-seated isolation persisted. His apartment became a time capsule of nostalgia, adorned with relics of a musical era that had shaped his identity. One day, as he sifted through his collection, John stumbled upon a ticket, a forgotten memento from the concert. A surge of inspiration coursed through him. What if he could channel his love for the Beatles into something more tangible? The idea of starting a Beatles appreciation club took root. He reached out to local community centers and online forums, extending invitations to fellow enthusiasts. Surprisingly, there were others who shared his fervor for the Fab Four. The club gained momentum, and soon, John found himself surrounded by kindred spirits. The gatherings were filled with laughter, debates about favorite albums, and impromptu sing-alongs. John's encyclopedic knowledge of the Beatles became a shared resource, and the loneliness that had plagued him began to dissipate. It turned out all those lonely people had found a place to come together. As the club thrived, John noticed a change within himself. The lyrics that once echoed with solitude now became anthems of fellowship. He discovered new facets of his beloved songs through the diverse perspectives of club members. Each meeting was a celebration of the universal language that connected them all, music. In the midst of this newfound community, John's life transformed. The apartment, once a haven for isolation, now echoed with the laughter of friends and the harmonies of shared passion. The imaginary conversations with his Beatles idols evolved into real dialogues with people who understood the profound impact of music on their lives. And so, in the chorus of life, John found a symphony of connection. The sad tunes of solitude were replaced by the uplifting chords of shared joy. In the end, it wasn't just about the music, it was about finding harmony with others who appreciated the soundtrack of his soul.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories to improve your listening.